Alright, so I've had a bunch of Hogs clips sat in a folder for ages, right? These are bugs and glitches and exploits that the community have come across in their travels through testing, through gameplay, through just generally messing about, and I wanted to go through them because I don't know what I'm going to use them for, and I want you guys to see the stuff that either you have put into the Hogs Discord at one point or another, or if you haven't seen these at all, then you are in for a treat. Alright, so this first one is, I think, from John Hog. We're here on Mission 12's Oasis, and he's in a tank. So, Minefield. Interesting maneuvers. Jumps out of it, and he hasn't exploded. Yeah, so if you jump out of a vehicle straight into minefields, this might not happen on both PAL and NTSC, but if you don't move, then you don't get to detonate the mine. The mine just doesn't register. It doesn't think that you are on the mine itself, and you can even hide. So because it was in the middle of an animation, regardless of where the pig lands, it just doesn't register. But the other interesting thing here, I mean, you can see he continues, and if you move near the pig, even if you don't step on a mine, he obviously ends up causing that pig to move because he sees his own player and detonates the minefield. The minefield then picks up on it. It's funky. Alright, so this one is probably one I've shown a lot on Twitter and elsewhere because it's probably still my favourite Hogs of War bug of all time, right? Let's just watch it together. So this is during an exhibition match. You can see it's Revan versus Angurio. Jumps on the head, lands directly on the boots. And then...
Wait, what?
Yeah, wait, what? Like, what? We've got to see it again. Well, you can see that he has landed directly, just, I guess, in a place the hitbox shouldn't be. And the animation doesn't end. So he's managed to lock the animation in. The game doesn't know what to do. So it then starts to damage the pig to try and rectify it. And then crashes. This next one is from KB. He's playing Pins mod. And... yeah. Commandos, man. They get a bit confused. Regardless of what class it is, I found out, again, through everyone testing this, that it happens pretty much every time. Unless you move close to the artillery, they will shoot you, but the majority of the time, they will jump out and do this. And this is because it's mission 16, and the enemy... I guess the code basically says they can't start inside the artilleries. I don't know why. Alright, this one is a quick one from ADB, but you can see here it's just a standard multiplayer match. But something funky happens in the sky, which is possible, as you'll see from the video clip itself. But a crate comes in, after the deaths, obviously. And it explodes. And you probably did see the blimp then. In fact, if we try and pinpoint the exact moment, so you can see the explosions there. There it is. So the moment that the crate spawns in, it spawns in the exact location that the blimp is. The blimp is passing through that zone. I mean, the probability of that happening is significantly low, so to have been able to see that is quite something because, again... The crate just blows up the blimp. So here's one you might not see every day. It's called AI Cheating. It's from HubDub, and you can see he's just hidden. Commando comes out. In fact, it's all the commandos because it's hard mode. And he's actually shooting at the player. And because it's hard mode, it's going to be a direct hit. Like, you do not see that every day. He's also doing this with just one pig as well. That's the insane thing. So he's obviously using... I guess DuckStation or EPSXE or just mods in general, but man, I'd be so annoyed. Or we have a rare Revan sighting. Who would have thought it? This is from one of his live streams, and we've seen that quite often, the explosions beforehand. But I like to call that the pig superhero jump. I mean, Revan is very confused, but for some reason mortars can kind of mess the game up sometimes. So you can see that there's like an explosion that occurs during the turn, and then if we can again kind of pinpoint that moment where the pig is suddenly at the highest point of the skybox and then flies all the way back down again, and then lands perfectly. That's what I love the most. He does like a superhero landing. It's beautiful. Revan is confused. The guy continues to take his turn, and he just teleports to wherever he wants to be. And his comrade, you can see on the minimap they're grouped together, and then they're instantly spread apart. So they both got teleported for no apparent reason. This is another one, I think, from John Hogg, again, instigating the point that animations can disrupt pretty much everything. So he's got a Super TNT, he's on top of a pillbox. What's he planning to do? Plants the TNT, jumps in, jumps back out again, just at the exact point where he can take no damage from the Super TNT. And that is because, like I mentioned, if a pig is in the middle of an animation, regardless of what point that animation is in, you can see that he is still in the jumping animation whilst the detonation is meant to be going off, and he's still in it, explodes, doesn't take any damage. This next one is not really a bug because it is actually intentional. So whenever a pig goes off the edge of the map and has to run back on, if there's anything in the way, if there's any obstacle in the way, if it's a tree, if it's something that can be destroyed like foliage, it will blow up instantly. But if it's a tank in this case, then as you will see, the pig becomes just Metal Man superhero and is able to just nudge absolutely anything out the way. And anything that is in that way will be damaged by 1 HP. Even if it's a pig, it will continue to damage that pig by 1 until that pig is out of the way. But it is kind of funny. Alright, so this one's actually one that I found. It's a bug involving the paratrooper and the cattle prod. In fact, you might be able to do it with multiple weapons, but you can see I'm starting here on just a standard multiplayer match with my para, and I decide to bring out the cattle prod and then change the camera angle. And in doing so, you can actually soft lock the game entirely. So you can see I turn the voices off as normal, equip my weapon, I then use that weapon, and then I pause the game, and now the game has absolutely no idea what to do. It is very, very confused. So the process is just very, very simple, but it's just doing things in quick succession that just ends up soft locking things and breaking it. Like, you got to use it, and then you got to pause, like spam it, and he'll just get locked in that animation, and he won't go back to the default pose and end the animation sequence. The pig is just locked in that state forever. He's so confused. So this clip is from Candyman. He did a lot of investigation into the strange phenomenon of pigs teleporting, which ended up being a physics bug. So essentially, if you've got anything in front of you, if you've got a jetpack and you collide with an object in a certain way, you can end up just being teleported to the other side of the map. And I don't think it's like direct teleportation, it's actually just the speed in which the pig is able to gain. As you saw there, he's actually moving. You can gain insane amounts of acceleration through the use of the jetpack in collision with the corner of a pillbox. And this is partially down to the fact that Hogs is partially built from a golf game engine. So that's kind of where this funky physics comes in, but you don't get to see it that often because usually stuff involving physics tends to work quite well with Hogs. But when it comes to jetpacks and movement, that's where things get really funky. And as this clip goes on, you'll be able to see just some really cool examples of it. It was some really cool findings. You can see he's finding the right angle to get the bounce off the pillbox. So he's not really teleporting anymore, he's more just comfortably bouncing. And it's to do with the angle that the pig is facing, the angle that he collides with these objects. It's so strange, but also so uniquely cool in a way. Like certain bugs you just see and it's like, okay, it really shouldn't work that way, but that's actually kind of fun. And as you'll see as the clips go on, like it just gets even more insane. And of course it had to be, the main speedrunners that find these, because they're constantly looking for new ways to, I guess, break the game, but also new ways to complete these levels as quickly as possible. And I'm sure he can let us know down in the comments, because I know that other speedrunners knew of this as well and found it out for themselves. So if I'm not mentioning anybody or everyone that is involved in these things that have been found, or if I haven't mentioned the correct people, then I do apologize. But even so, like, it's this next one, okay, after he's crashed, the next one where he gains insane amount of height Like, look at him go. I used it in the most recent Lardcore video because it is just, it's so strange, but it's the perfect example of just a wacky Hogs of War bug. Alright, this next one is from ADB. He's of course playing the Italian version of Hogs as Suini Bellici, as you'd expect, here on Mission 19. And at the moment, he's trying to instigate something involving switching weapons very quickly. And you can see there that that wasn't meant to happen. So what is he actually trying to do? Well, if you're able to perform an action whilst holding a weapon, there's a chance, as you can see, that the pig will end up keeping that weapon and not unequipping it. And as you'll see here, regardless of the other animations going on, the pig will maintain holding that weapon, and it could be whatever item, as long as you're able to perform the action. In that case, he was looking to self-heal. Considering you're going from one animation to another, the pig doesn't have enough time to play the unequip animation, so he just keeps hold of the model, and you can even run around with it when it comes back around to your turn again. And it looks just insane, especially with the dustbin of the bazooka. Yeah, so he's holding it. It just looks so dumb. And when he then eventually hides, it does become unequipped, but yeah, it's such a cool one and such a great find. Again, it seems to be a constant action with a lot of these bugs of just doing things quickly or too quickly for the game to keep up with what is actually going on in game. And last but not least, we have a final one from HerpDub here. He's playing on mission 15, jumps into the duck, jumps out again. He's on the very edge of the map boundary, decides to hide, and then manages to rotate the camera, and yeah, the pig falls out of his hide. That's probably the best way I can describe it. And then, on his next turn, the game realizes and the pig pops into existence. So let's try and figure out what's going on here. So once again, we have an animation on the edge of the map, but he then goes to hide, which is normal, and then pausing here. I'm sure HubDub can explain in the comments, but I don't know if he was maybe holding on to L1 or another button to, you can rotate the camera. But the strange thing that I always find is that as it rotates around and the pig falls down, the camera follows, but it follows in an angle that we don't normally see. Maybe it's just because, normally the pig would be in that falling down animation, but the pig not being there, maybe the camera looks weird, but like the angle in which it falls is so strange, because it looks like the camera is quite literally falling into, like as though the camera is dropping into the terrain. But you see there's a bounce, you see the particle effects that are playing, and then he just bounces off and then continues. And he hides, maybe because he's just a spy, or maybe because he can't find him. And then the game realizes that this pig is already out of the hide, and then he pops into existence. So it is a really strange one, because when at the point when you're hiding, right, your character model is disappearing and is essentially being replaced. So the character model is gone, but then the spirit of the pig, the essence of that pig, then falls out of the hide. And yeah, it's so weird. But either way, that is all I've got from this folder of dreams, this folder of nightmares, I guess. Just a big thank you to everyone that has found all of these, because they are so unique and so strange, and they do help Lardcore as well, because it does allow us to investigate these things and just figure out what the hell is going on. And I mean, we want to keep the more unique stuff like the random punching in the air and stuff, but if there's some really bad game-breaking things like the soft lock and like other things like, character models being able to maintain hold of their weapons when they shouldn't be, those kind of things, a lot of bug cleanup fixes needed, and hopefully none of this craziness, just falling out of existence and then reappearing in existence again. And the funny thing is as well, like when I didn't actually show the end, but when HubDub moves his pig again and he turns back around, his hide tree is no longer there. So with him popping into existence, the tree disappears into nothingness. spooky.
bringing me joy.